A bustling city at dawn. Industrious workers set out from their homes, coming and going in a perfect and productive ballet. But by evening, the workers vanish. No trace of foul play, no bodies left behind. Mass disappearances like this have recently occurred across the globe. Not of humans, but of millions of honeybees.
In a matter of a month and a day, from the time I set the bee down until I came back, they had disappeared.
You go up to a beehive that previously was populous, many bees, thousands of bees, and a few days later, almost all the bees are gone.
Beekeepers around the world are warning that a crisis is brewing. A phenomenon dubbed colony collapse disorder has mysteriously emptied beehives in at least 35 states. And from Europe to South America, the bees are disappearing.
There is something very different here, and we don't know what to do about it, and we don't know what's causing it. So that's why this problem is really concerning.
Estimates are that about 600,000 of America's 2.6 million honeybee colonies may have just disappeared.
In some areas of the country, up to 80% of the honeybees have vanished in as little as 6 months. And for such a small insect, the bee's disappearance could have colossal repercussions for humans.
They're tiny creatures, their brain is small, and yet honeybees are the most important pollinator on the planet. They account for about 1/3 of the food that's produced in America.
Honeybees pollinate nearly 100 of our most important crops. Fruits and vegetables, nuts, seeds, even fibers like cotton. In the United States alone, the value of their services exceeds $15 billion.
We rely on this one species to do all this pollination, and they're in trouble. Unless we only want to eat corn, wheat, and rice, we need bees.
Without bees, life as we know it, I don't think will exist.
The vanishing bees have spurred the launch of a global investigation, with beekeepers and scientists racing against time to answer the question, why are the bees disappearing? Possible suspects include toxic pesticides, parasites, malnutrition, or even an AIDS-like virus sweeping through the insect world. Pressure mounts to find a solution before the planet's premier pollinator is gone for good.
We're looking for clues. We're looking for footprints of infection. The terminology that we've used in the past has been it's when CSI meets agriculture.
Colony collapse disorder has surprised the public with the realization that the future of our food supply rests on the tiny honeybee. DeBlois, Maine. A caravan of semis rolls in at Jasper Wyman Farm, the largest grower of wild blueberries in the country. The drivers have piloted their cargo non-stop from as far away as Florida and California. Now they prepare to unload their shipments of livestock. Small, six-legged livestock. It's pollination season. And across the Northeast, the bees are on the move.
Which side? Your side or my side or what? This side, right?
Every year in May, Pennsylvania beekeeper David Hackenberg brings his bees to Maine for a few weeks' work in the blueberry barrens. 2,600 hives, each brimming with 30,000 bees. He distributes them throughout the farm's 7,000 acres, where the wild blueberry flowers are just beginning to unfold. The bees have traveled a long way and are only halfway through a busy work year.
These bees you see here are probably all in oranges in Florida. Some of them were probably in cantaloupes in Florida. From there they came to Pennsylvania, pollinated apples, and their next ride came here to Maine to pollinate blueberries. These beehives travel about 5,500 miles a year on the back of a truck.
For $90 a hive, David will leave his bees in the barrens for 3 weeks. During this time, his bees will go to work collecting pollen for their young, and in the process, enabling a new crop of wild blueberries to grow. Without the bees, there would be no fruit to harvest.
If we didn't bring bees here to pollinate these blueberries, the blueberry farmer wouldn't have enough berries to have a profitable business. I mean, you would get maybe a couple hundred pounds the acre. We're looking for hundreds and thousands of pounds of blueberries to make it a profitable business.
The entire industry depends upon keeping these tiny workhorses healthy. But caring for a stock of over 36 million animals can be a challenge. Everything from weather to local predators poses a danger. In Maine, the irresistible smell of honey brings out another threat to the hives: bears.
Bears.
Their homes and pollen stores torn apart, the bees are angry.
They're not very happy.
Field manager Darren Hammond isn't too pleased either. Every hive destroyed by bears adds to his tab.
$100 a hive.
Darren's total bill for renting hives this year will exceed $900,000. To make sure he's getting his money's worth, he checks the activity on the blossoms.
If you take 1 square meter and you wait 1 minute and count the number of bees in 1 square meter per minute, if you have 2.5 bees in that square meter, that's adequate pollination.
The bees are doing a job they've done for 100 million years, since they evolved along with flowering plants and formed a perfect partnership. Bees forage for high-protein pollen in the flowers, and the plants reward them with a sugary liquid called nectar. Some bees developed specialized anatomies to efficiently harvest nectar. Chief among them was Apis mellifera, the honeybee. An architectural marvel, the honeybee's design is an elegant fusion of form and function. A proboscis for ferreting out nectar stored deep in a flower's folds, and powerful mandibles for eating, feeding young, and manipulating wax. 2 compound eyes are comprised of 6,900 lenses and covered with sensory hairs for detecting wind speed. 3 additional eyes, called ocelli, receive light signals for orientation. 4 wings clasped together with tiny hooks and beat up to 230 times a second. For defense, a double-edged serrated sting, which she can use only once, at the cost of her own life. Hind legs are broadened into special baskets for carrying a heavy cargo of pollen to the hive. Feathery hairs coat the body and build up a static charge as the bee flies. When the bee lands on a flower, pollen literally jumps onto her body.
They're just this magnificent little engineered thing, just perfect for all the things they can do. And as they go through life and change their tasks, these different anatomies come into play.
When a bee transfers pollen from one flower to another, the plant's fertilized ovaries swell into ripened fruit. It is nature's oldest and most fruitful alliance. But today, we rely on bees to perform a natural task on a very unnatural scale. Farmers continue to push for crop yields far larger than anything nature has ever seen. Apples, blueberries, pears, peaches, almonds. as farms devour more and more land. Wild insects lose natural habitat, and pollinators have to be trucked in. The whole system only works thanks to a handful of commercial beekeepers who transport their bees around the country, pollinating a third of the food we eat. But the beekeepers are in trouble. Their bees are disappearing.